In recent years, Hollywood has increasingly turned to themes that mock or challenge the existence and sovereignty of God. Whether it's through films, TV shows, or other forms of media, many productions seem to disregard the power and reverence due to the Creator. But as history has shown, there are consequences when humanity disregards divine authority. This story will reveal a shocking series of events that took place when Hollywood's mocking crossed a line, and what happened next serves as a powerful reminder of God's sovereignty. Hollywood, long known for pushing boundaries, began to mock God in ways that stirred controversy. Movies featuring scenes where characters challenged the idea of a higher power, denying God's authority, and openly ridiculing religious figures, seemed to become more frequent. The world watched as these messages spread, convincing some that they could defy God without consequence. But there was a spiritual undercurrent at work, one that many failed to notice. The productions that took such liberties with sacred subjects often became huge hits, drawing massive audiences, and they seemed to get away with mocking the divine without any pushback. But little did anyone know, things were about to change. As Hollywood continued its trend of ridiculing God, something unexpected began to happen behind the scenes. Actors, producers, and even directors who had been involved in mocking God found themselves facing unexpected personal tragedies, loss, and struggles. At first, it seemed like coincidence. But as the occurrences escalated, many of those involved began to wonder, could their mocking of God be tied to the misfortune surrounding them? People close to the industry started to realize that the deeper they went into mocking God, the more their personal lives began to unravel. With no logical explanation, this growing pattern started to disturb even the staunchest skeptics. One day, a prominent figure in Hollywood, who had openly mocked God in a major film, experienced a life-changing event. The person was involved in a near-death experience, something that forced them to confront the spiritual realm. In this experience, they encountered a vision of God's power and authority that they had long dismissed. It was a humbling and life-altering moment, and they were shown the stark contrast between human arrogance and the overwhelming reality of God's greatness. This moment of divine intervention shocked the individual to their core, and they soon realized that their mocking had invited spiritual consequences. It was then that they began to seek redemption, starting a journey of transformation. The stories of others who had similar experiences began to emerge, painting a clear picture of what happens when people challenge or mock God's power. As more individuals in Hollywood began to experience these awakenings, word spread throughout the industry. People who once ridiculed faith began to reconsider their actions. Some sought forgiveness through repentance, while others tried to change their message. The transformation wasn't immediate, but there was a noticeable shift in the tone of some productions and public statements. Hollywood had encountered a reality that it could not ignore: there were consequences to mocking the Creator. The industry began to reconsider its approach to faith-based topics. While it didn't entirely abandon its mocking ways, a portion of it began to explore the deeper truths about God, creation, and the afterlife. The shift was subtle but undeniable. The story of Hollywood's transformation is not just a tale of the entertainment industry but a powerful lesson for all of us. Hollywood's mocking of God serves as a mirror to the broader culture, a reminder that, as a society, we often take God's name and power for granted. We live in a world where entertainment can shape ideologies, influence opinions, and sometimes even sway hearts toward disbelief. When Hollywood mocked God, it seemed harmless to some, just part of the creative freedom of filmmakers. But, as the stories of those who encountered divine intervention show, the impact of this mockery goes far beyond just a movie script or TV show. It reaches into the spiritual realm, where the consequences of defying God's will and authority are felt deeply. This ripple effect isn't isolated to Hollywood, it touches all of us. Whether you are an artist, a viewer, or someone navigating the world of social media and everyday interactions, the message is universal. We must ask ourselves, are we taking God for granted? Are we mocking or ignoring His presence in subtle ways? Are we elevating human opinion over divine truth? These are questions that force us to confront our own attitudes and actions, no matter where we are in life. The shift that began in Hollywood is a reminder of a fundamental truth: we must never underestimate the consequences of rejecting or mocking God's divine authority. God's sovereignty extends to every corner of life. There is no space, no time, no industry where His power is irrelevant. And when we ignore or mock that power, we risk inviting consequences into our lives, consequences that could go beyond what we expect. As more individuals within Hollywood began experiencing divine wake-up calls, a remarkable transformation began to take shape. Some of the industry's biggest figures, once known for their irreverence and mockery, began to speak out about their newfound faith. These revelations came as a surprise to many, as these people had once been vocal in their skepticism or outright dismissal of religion. What happened to bring about such a drastic change? Some filmmakers, after confronting their own personal struggles, began to see the connection between their mockery of God and the personal calamities they had faced. The tragedies they had suffered in their lives, divorces, financial ruin, and health crises, began to be understood in a different light. Many came to realize that their previous works, which mocked or challenged God's existence, had consequences not only in the entertainment world but in their own lives. As these individuals sought redemption, they began to openly share their experiences. A few stars made public declarations of faith, expressing regret for their past actions and vowing to use their platform to spread a message of hope, humility, and reverence. This shift in Hollywood wasn't about immediately turning away from all things irreverent or controversial, it was about recognizing that there is power and beauty in acknowledging God. It wasn't a call for the industry to abandon its creative expression, but rather a call to consider how its messages could reflect a deeper respect for the divine. And this shift was met with mixed reactions. Some accepted the change, while others continued to push boundaries. However, the seed of transformation had been planted. The powerful theme of spiritual reckoning started to echo through Hollywood as those who had experienced divine encounters shared their stories. These were not just stories of fame and fortune but deeply personal accounts of transformation. Individuals who had spent years mocking God began to realize the gravity of their actions. One particularly striking story involved a director who had been behind some of the most notorious films mocking religion. After a near-death experience, this director had a vision of standing before a powerful, radiant light, something they described as a divine presence they could not explain in human terms. In that moment, they came face to face with the consequences of their choices, but also, they felt an overwhelming sense of peace. They realized that even in their rebellion, God's mercy was still present, offering a way back to redemption. In the aftermath of these life-changing experiences, several Hollywood figures took steps to undo the harm they believed they had caused. Some offered public apologies, while others took to their platforms to share messages of faith and the importance of respecting God's sovereignty. They used their influence to encourage others to reflect on their own relationship with God, understanding that spiritual reckoning isn't just about judgment, it's about returning to the truth and finding redemption. As the wake-up call spread, a subtle but noticeable cultural shift began to emerge in Hollywood. Filmmakers, actors, and producers who had once pushed the boundaries of irreverence started to reconsider how they portrayed faith and spirituality in their projects. While many still held on to their freedom of expression, a new wave of content began to surface, content that sought to portray the power of faith, redemption, and the reality of divine intervention. Movies and television shows started to include more balanced representations of spiritual journeys, with characters grappling with faith, doubt, and the search for meaning. Some even accepted biblical themes and Christian values in a way that had been largely absent from mainstream Hollywood in recent decades. It wasn't that the industry as a whole turned away from controversy, it was that a new understanding of the responsibility of media began to take shape. Audiences, too, began to respond. Many people expressed appreciation for the shift, particularly those who had felt alienated by the previous trend of mocking or minimizing religious beliefs. For the first time in years, it seemed that there was space for stories of faith and spirituality to be explored authentically in Hollywood, without fear of mockery. The story of Hollywood's mockery of God and the subsequent transformation is more than just a reflection of the entertainment industry, it's a reminder for all of us about the power of our words and actions. Whether we're in the spotlight or in the shadows, the way we treat the concept of God, His sovereignty, and His will has real consequences. While Hollywood's transformation shows us that even the most rebellious can find redemption, it also warns us that there are spiritual consequences when we choose to mock or ignore God. This story isn't just about judgment, it's also about hope. Redemption is always available to those who seek it. Even in the darkest moments, God's grace offers a way back. For those who may be questioning or mocking the truth of God, it's never too late to reflect on your actions. If you've strayed, recall that God's mercy is waiting. Just as Hollywood found a way back, so too can we all find hope, forgiveness, and transformation when we choose to acknowledge the divine power and authority that rules over all. And for those who understand this truth, it's a reminder to live with reverence, respect, and humility, acknowledging the sovereignty of God in every aspect of life. If you loved the content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.